Hey guys, welcome to another video on estate sale and auction finds. The items in this video today came from a local estate sale. And sometimes when you're looking at estate sales online, you may be able to find out some general information before the sale about who the items are from, who the estate is. And with this group, we found that this gentleman had been in World War II. He'd been in a tanker unit. Then he was out in the military for a couple of years when he went to college at the end of World War II, and then back in the reserves from like 1950 to 1980. So I thought, there's a good chance. Here's somebody who was in World War II and then over 30 years in the reserves. Maybe he'll have some military items of interest. And they said, even though they had like 13 photos total, and some of them were out of focus and not great for being able to tell what was at the sale, but they did say that there were military items. So went there and hoped for the best. When I got there, there was a bunch of stuff hanging on a rack in the garage. And first I thought, oh, this looks great. But then I looked at them a little bit and I was like, man, these just don't look like, authentic World War II items. And they had a little sign on the end of the rack and it said movie costumes. I thought, movie costumes. And what these items were was they were from Saving Private Ryan, the 1998 film with Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks, and it grossed almost $500 million. It was like the third highest grossing movie in the U.S. that year. And right below the rack was a big tub of different, there were some pouches, there was like one of the assault vests, there were a couple of helmets that were painted up, and I looked at those and I was like, this assault vest looks brand new. The helmets were painted kind of poorly. There's a certain quality to helmets that were painted in World War II, plus they're going to have some wear on them. They're not something that was made 10 years ago, 20 years ago. These helmets all look like they were just painted yesterday. So I thought, I wasn't really thinking about them in any capacity other than military collectible. And so I thought, I'll come back and look at them later on maybe. And so most of these items were bought on the second day of the sale. Because even when I went back and looked at like this jacket, and I said, okay, you're saying it's from Saving Private Ryan, but how do you know that? I mean, anybody can claim that something was used in a movie or used in something. How can you find out about this? So I went and looked online, like, how can you tell something that was actually used in Saving Private Ryan, and do they have much value? So on this, we'll actually find that a lot of the items that were used in the production do have some kind of marking. See, like that one says US SPR for US Saving Private Ryan. They stamped that apparently in a lot of the helmets and the uniforms and so forth. So for like this one here, if you will remember in the movie, Tom Hanks, including Tom Hanks, there's like Tom Hanks and Tom Sizemore, Vin Diesel. There's 8 of them total that go to find Private Ryan. And one of them is a sniper. The sniper, I think, is one of the more memorable characters in the show. And this jacket here was actually made for use for that character. And there's a scene about halfway through the movie. He wears one of these jackets through like the first half of the movie. And then about the halfway point, they decide that they're going to try and overrun a German machine gun nest. And the actor, Barry Pepper, I believe, played Jackson, the sniper. He's wearing this jacket right before they run up the hill to overtake the Germans. And then the next scene they show him, he's not wearing the jacket and he's been shot in the arm. And we see that this one here has what's supposed to be a little bit of fake blood and a hole there from being shot. And Tom Hanks even comments a few scenes later, he says, Jackson, you've been shot, do something about that. But he's not wearing the jacket anymore. So it must have been a deleted scene they did of him wearing the jacket, and then they decided for whatever reason, he doesn't need to be wearing the jacket. Just have him wearing like an HBT shirt. That'll make it easier. So it's interesting that this one was actually used for a Bane character. And then this next thing, well, this next one here is a jump jacket. Again, it's not an authentic World War II jump jacket. Instead, it's a replica one used in production. Now, this one here is not stamped in the way the field coat was. There's no SPR. Apparently, although most of the items were marked that way, some of them were not. But we do see that this one here, significant wear and damage on the pockets here. And when we look at that on the inside, we can see they would put these things, they call them squib packs. And basically, they're the cause, basically like an explosion, or, you know, when you're having a shot of somebody getting shot, that's great. So, on this one here, they would have it kind of explode out, and so they needed to cut out the interior of the pocket. And I'm guessing this kind of reddish staining was supposed to be, again, some fake blood. And we see it's on both sides that they've done that. Look like they had it glued in there, and there's actually a little bit of remnants of what I'm guessing would be some, you know, guts or intestines. And we actually see that, I'm guessing at one point they were planning on, they would do some shots where they would have done the same thing on the back, as you can see where they've drawn out probably where they were going to do that. And if we look at the back, we'll see again it has, you know, pretty good amount of wear right where they were going to do that at. So like I said, this one is not, it's not an authentic World War II item. None of these are. But this one, you know, there were some 82nd Airborne and 101st Airborne ones that show up in the movie. And this next item here, when they were filming production, you wouldn't want to have one of these that's actually made of wood and metal. You know, somebody ends up throwing it, somebody gets hit. So for stunt items like this, it's just made out of like a rubber, so that if somebody gets hit, it's not going to hurt them. So that one again was supposed to be used in Saving Private Ryan. And this last one here is again an M41 field jacket, but rather than having the Ranger patch, it's got the 29th Infantry, which I think there's only like one of the main 8 guys that was 29th Infantry. But it's going to have, again, that same markings of the U.S. Saving Private Ryan. Now you may be wondering about like value, and the value is an interesting thing on these, because sometimes, like when the movie came out in 1998, and this gentleman had bought all these items like in 1999, so probably within a year of the movie being released in theaters, there was a lot of hype for the movie at that time, and so prices were really quite high. And here it is now, you know, you're going on 27 years ago since the movie was released. Some of these items are not worth as much as they were when he bought them in 1999. And that happens sometimes. On the Band of Brothers show, when HBO released that, all the World War II Airborne items shot up in price, and then some of them came back down in price a little bit later, after a few years after the hype of Band of Brothers receded. And it was the same way with the Pacific for the Marine Corps items. So sometimes the value of authentic items, and then even items used in the movie, can be very high shortly after it's released, and sometimes the prices will recede a little bit, because that value, when you have those jumps like that, it's just not something that's going to last that way. So anyways, as I said, they're interesting items. Certainly it's good to know if you're out at a sale and you're looking at items and you're saying like, oh, well, I know these aren't real World War II items, but are they an item that was maybe used in a production? And if it is, for like Saving Private Ryan, you can take a look and see if it has that stamp in it, as most of them apparently do, and that'll help you decide if it is really an item from production like that. So That's going to wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you'll like and subscribe so that you will know when future videos are uploaded. And as always, I appreciate you watching. Thanks.